Hello, welcome to another Discord tutorial video. Today we'll be taking a look at creating a Discord music bot. We'll be covering a variety of different features, including playing music, searching it, creating a queue, viewing the queue, playing and stopping the music, shuffling it, and skipping to a specific part of the queue. So first thing you'll need to do is create a folder. I called it Music Bot Tutorial, but you can name it whatever you want, and I opened it in VS Code. Next, you'll want to open up your terminal and npm init to create the project. Next, we'll be installing some of the dependencies that we'll be using in here. I will be pasting this in the description below, but you can go ahead and copy and paste it. This is all the packages we'll need. And while that's going on, I'm going to add an index.js file. The next step will be to create a .env file here, which we will be putting our bot token in. So I will type in token equals, and I'll go ahead and grab my token. You'll want to go to the Discord developer page and click on your bot, or you can create on a new application if you're creating a new application. And if it's new, if you go to the bot tab here, it'll say create a bot. You'll want to click on that. And once you have, you'll see here you can copy your token. I'm going to go ahead and copy it and paste it into my code right here. And we can close that file since we are done. Now we can finally get on to the coding portion. So in the index.js file, we want to create our Discord client. So we will import in a couple of different things. First is the Discord client, and then we'll want to require the .env, which will be used to pull out the token from our bot. So we can go ahead and write that token equals process.env.token, and one thing before that is we'll need to call .env.config. A couple of other packages we'll need to import in something called REST from the Discord.js REST library, and the routes from the Discord API types v9. Both of these will be used to set up the slash commands that we'll be using, and fs, which is going to be reading files, and of course we'll be using the player from the Discord player package, which will be used to manage the queue in some of the more detailed and difficult parts of the Discord music bot. Next, we are going to set up a variable. I'm going to call it load slash, and this variable we'll be setting it to this. So it's going to be a bool that's going to look at the command arguments that we set when we run the bot code. So typically when we run the bot code, we'll write node index.js, and this is all stored in this argv array. So it would be stored with node and index.js in there. However, we want to run the bot for the first time when we want to load in the slash commands and deploy them. So I've made it so that it'll look at the third thing here. So if we type load here, this statement will be true, and this variable will be true, and we'll be able to actually load the slash. If that variable isn't there, or if it's something else there, then this will be false, and we can handle it just as normal and start the bot just like we would typically. Next, we'll be setting up the client ID, which will be the client ID for the bot, and the guild ID, which is where the bot will be executable in. The reason we're adding these two here is just so we can deploy the slash commands. So we can find these by first going to the Discord bot. If we go to the general information here, copy the application ID by clicking the copy button, you can move back and paste that in. And for guild, if you go to Discord, you'll be able to go up to the top right hand corner of the guild, copy ID, go back, and we can paste that in. Now let's actually initialize our Discord client by typing const client equals new discord.client. And in here, we'll want to specify some intents. We will need to include guilds, which will allow us to see what guild our bot is in, and guild voice states, which allows us to see the voice channel states. We'll also be creating a few variables slash commands under client. We'll be using a Discord collection for this, dot player, which will be the player object from that we imported earlier here from the Discord player. And in here we'll have client, which we'll pass in, and we're also going to be including YTDL options. YTDL is YouTube downloader, which is going to handle the streaming of music. I'm going to specify some of the information here, including highest audio, which means we're going to be streaming audio only and picking the highest quality, and we'll be setting high watermark to 125. Now we will actually set up the loading of the commands. So we'll be using a folder called sorry, that's not a folder. We're creating a folder called slash, and all of our slash commands are going to go under here. And now we're going to write a slash command loader. So we'll want to create an array called commands that's going to be used when we deploy these slash commands. And we'll want to grab the files by using fs.read read directory sync. We're going to read all the files in the slash directory, and we're going to filter these by all of the files that actually ends with .js. So if any file doesn't end with .js, it will not be added to this slash files array of the file names. And after this, we'll want to loop through all of these files. So file of slash files, and we will load these in. So slash command, we're going to use the require statement. So we go to the directory and we insert the file name here, and this way we're able to actually pull out the actual contents of that file into this variable called slash command. And here we'll do slash commands dot set, and we'll set this to slash command dot data dot name and the slash command itself. And finally, if we are loading the slash commands, then we'll want to push all of the data of the slash command to the commands array, and we'll be using this array when we want to deploy the actual slash commands. Now let's actually try loading in the slash commands and deploying it. So we want to only load the slash commands if we were to specify the option. So if load slash is true, then we're going to use the REST API. We're going to create it like such, set token, and we're going to give it our token, and we can console.log here that we are deploying slash commands, and here we can do rest.put. I will explain what this is in just a second here. Guild commands, client ID, guild ID, and we're going to feed it the body of the commands. So what this does here is it generates a URL that inserts the client ID and guild ID in here, and when it does this, we'll be able to actually deploy all of our commands. All the data is included in this array of commands here to a certain point in the API that includes both the client ID and the guild. And after this is done, we'll want to see if it succeeded, which means that the things inside these brackets will run. So after this is executed, then we will print out success loaded, and we can do process.exit 0, which means that will stop our bot entirely. And if there was some kind of error that happened, we can put that error into a variable called error. If there was an error, then console.log the error, and we can process.exit with 1, which means there's some kind of error that happened, but we'll stop the bot entirely. Now we finished the deploying part of the slash commands. We can write, if we're not deploying the slash command, how we'll be handling the actual execution of these slash commands. So if we go down here, we can write an else statement and put in client.on ready, and we can run console.log logged in as, and we can specify client.user.tag, and we can use the client.on interaction create. Let me zoom out once. Interaction create with the interaction, not intersection, interaction, which will include these slash commands that are executed. We'll actually need to define a function. I'm going to call it handle command. And in this function, if the interaction is not a command, is not a slash command, then we will return. So we'll ignore anything that isn't a slash command. Otherwise, we'll run the slash command. We'll try to get the slash command from the slash commands Discord collection by the name of the interaction. So interaction.command name. If it doesn't exist, then reply with interaction.reply no, not a valid slash command. Otherwise, we will run interaction.defer reply. What this does is make sure bots respond with name of your bot is thinking and gives you more time to actually respond to the slash command. Otherwise, by default, Discord only gives you 3 seconds to respond to a slash command, meaning your bot has 3 seconds in order before Discord decides, oh, your bot is too slow, and it decides to end the slash command. And then here we'll run this actual command, and we'll pass in the client object and the interaction object, which will allow us to do some stuff with that further. And finally, we'll want to make sure we actually call our handle command here. And finally, we'll want to add the login. So client.login with our bot token, and our index.js file is now complete. Now we can create our first slash command. So if we go into the slash folder, click on new, play.js is going to be our first command. We'll want to import some of the dependencies, which includes slash command builder, which will help us with actually building the slash command. At Discord.js builders, you'll also need the message embed object from the Discord.js library. Oops. And lastly, we'll need the query type from Discord player. And we want to export all of this information. So we have data, which is going to include our slash command data. So we're going to use the slash command builder. We'll set the name of the command to be play. We will set the description to be loads songs from YouTube, and we'll add a subcommand and in the subcommand we will set the name to be song. So this is going to load a singular song. I'm going to set the description to be loads a single song from a URL, and we'll want to give it a string option, and in the string option is going to be the actual URL that the user is able to input here. So option that set name, we'll call this string input URL. Set the description, the song's URL, and we will make it required because we need to know what you want in the song. And that is our first subcommand. The next subcommand that we'll need to add will be loading a whole playlist. So add subcommand, and in here subcommand dot set name, we will call this playlist, and we'll set the description to say loads a playlist of songs from a URL. And we will set, add string options. And this time we will do the same thing. It will be a URL, except this time for the description we'll say the playlist URL. And again, we will make it required. Let me delete the comma here. And our last subcommand. This subcommand is going to, hold on, set name is going to be searching via just some keywords. Set the description to be searches for song based on provided keywords. And we will give it, add string options. We'll give it option and dot set name. We'll call this search terms, and we'll set description to be the search keywords. And of course, we also need to make this true, required. And that should be our 3 subcommands. So we have the song, which loads a singular song. We have the playlist, which will load an entire playlist of songs. And we have the search, which will search via keywords. And down here, we'll add the actual run, which is where actual code gets executed. So we set up a function that's going to take in the client and interaction that was passed in earlier. And the first thing we'll need to do is check if the user is actually in a voice channel. So interaction.member.voice.channel. If the user is not in a voice channel, then this will be false. And if that is the case, then we want to return interaction.editReply. You need to be in a VC to use this command. Otherwise, we will move forward. We will be creating a queue from the player. So client.player, create queue, and we'll pass in the interaction.guild object, and we'll be creating a if there's no queue connection, then we will go ahead and have the bot connect to the voice channel that the member is currently in. So queue.connect interaction.member.voice.channel, and we will be creating an embed object, which we'll be using here in just a minute when we write some of the other parts of the code. So now we will go ahead and split this up into 3 sections. One for handling a singular song by the URL, one for handling the playlist, and finally for the search. So we will use interaction.options.get subcommand. So this is going to get the subcommand of the slash command that we run. If it is song, then we're going to do a certain thing. If it ends up being playlist, then we will do something else. And finally, if it ends up being search, then we will handle it with the search. And there we go. So under song, the first thing we'll need to do is grab the URL, interaction.options.getString, and since we called it URL previously, here we will fetch it by using this. We specify that we're grabbing the string called URL, and we'll try to search on YouTube real quick. So client.player.search, we'll pass in the URL information. We'll specify that this was requested by, the interaction.user, and the search engine that we'll be using is a YouTube video, since we're actually looking for a singular video. And if the result of the tracks is 0, so all the results will be returned in an array called result.tracks, and if that array is empty, which means its length is 0, that means we haven't found anything. So we can reply interaction.edit reply and say no results. Otherwise, we can grab that first song in the URL that we found, result.tracks 0, and we can add that to our queue. And lastly, we want to specify exactly what we added, so give the user some kind of information, which here we're going to be using the embed object for. So set description, we will say the song.title, and we'll link it with the song.url has been added to the queue, and we'll add the thumbnail, song.thumbnail. So this will be thumbnail. So this is going to be the thumbnail that you see, similar to what you find on YouTube. And we'll set the footer to include the duration of the song. So duration, song.duration. And we are done with the song. For the playlist, it is very, very similar. So I'm actually going to go ahead and copy this code and paste it in here. And instead of YouTube video here, we'll be switching this to YouTube playlist. And right here, instead of, oh, I realized I made a mistake. There should be a single A track instead of 2 A's. Here, instead of a single song, here we'll be looking at playlist. And instead of result.tracks, we'll be looking at result.playlist. And instead of adding a singular track, we'll be adding tracks. And so this will be result.tracks. And the last change that we'll need to make here is to switch this out. Instead of song, we'll be switching it to say playlist.title, and playlist.url has been added to the queue. And we can also specify real quickly at the beginning how many songs there were. So we can say result.tracks.length songs from this playlist have been added to the queue. And we can add the thumbnail, and there won't be a duration, so we can delete this set footer part. Now finally, for the search, again, it's very, very similar, so I will copy and paste this. But remember above that instead of calling it URL, we decided to call this string search terms, so we'll replace that there. And here for the search, instead of searching only YouTube playlist, we'll make this one search for any kind of platform. So this includes Spotify or SoundCloud. And in here, instead of playlists, we're going to switch back to using song, since we will be getting a singular song. And here we'll grab the result.tracks and the first thing in there, switch it back to add track, and switch this back to song. And finally, in the song description, I will actually go ahead and copy from what we had here. We probably would have been better if we copied from there in the first place, but the rest is the exact same. Now we actually are very close to being finished, but we need 2 more things. One is, if we haven't started playing it, we're actually going to make our player start to play from the queue. And second of all, we want to reply with the embed, because at this point we've only created the embed object. We haven't actually sent it back to the user yet. So if the queue is not currently playing, then we want to start playing it. So await queue.play, and finally interaction.edit reply. We will send them the response of the embed that we've been creating from each of these 3 options. Embed. And there we go. We are finished with the play command now. Now we can create our second slash command, which is going to be q.js. The imports are very similar, so I'm going to copy the first two lines of our play and paste them into Q. We'll also set up the exports and create a slash command. So slash command builder. This time we'll be calling it Q instead of play, and for the description we will specify displays the current song Q, and we will give it one number option. This number option is going to be our page. So our queue might contain hundreds of songs, and of course we're not going to be able to send that all in a single message, so we'll want to add a pagination system to display the different pages of songs. We'll call this option page and set its description to be page number of the queue, and we'll set its min value to be 1 because we know there will be at least one page and there won't be any negative pages or the 0 page. And here now we can run async and add our function parameters, client interaction. Okay, now the first thing we'll need to do is grab the queue from the current guild. So player.getQueue interaction.guildID. So this gets the queue object. If there's no queue or their queue is currently not playing, then we will return with an error. So edit reply. We'll say there are no songs in the queue. Otherwise, we will first take a look at how many total pages there are. This way we can check to see if this option is valid or not. So total pages, the total number of pages is going to be the queue tracks length divided by 10, round it down. So for example, if there's 11 tracks in the queue, since each page is going to contain 10, that means we have a total of 2 pages, and this will give us a little bit over 1. This will be like 1.1, and we'll want to use the ceiling function, which will round it up to 2. Otherwise, there will be only 1 page at max. And then we want to specify the page. So we can grab this from our number option, but note here that we did not specify this is required. So if it's not required, that means the user might not give it. And if they don't give it, then when we try to get the value, it might be null. So we want to specify that if it's null, we'll default to the page 1. So interaction.options.getNumber. Here we'll specify page, and if that is null, then we'll use the OR and it'll default to 1. And in JavaScript, arrays start counting with 0 and not 1. Therefore, when the user says page 1, what they really mean is array 0 or page 0. And finally, if the page is greater than the total amount of pages that we have, then we will go ahead and return an error. Interaction.editReply. Invalid page. There are only a total of pages of songs. Okay, now we've handled all of the errors that we necessarily will run into. We can actually handle the display now. So first thing we'll do is create a queue string. So this is going to take the first 10 songs in for that single page. So we'll do page times 10. So this is going to get an offset of the 10 by the page count, and we'll add 10 more to that. So the 10 additional songs after the start of that page. So page times 10 plus 10. And we'll want to map these songs and the song information to a string. So this will have the song's object, and this I will be the index of that song in the array. So we will do return. We'll specify first, according to the page, what number this track is currently in the list, and we can do that with this formula. So if it's page 1, then this page will actually be 0. So it's going to display with 1, starting from 1. If we're on the actual page 2, since we're subtracting 1, the page variable will be 1, and the first song displayed will be 11. And then we can specify the song duration. And I'm using these backslash backticks here, so we're able to display it in the code block format. And the song.title is here, and we can also specify the song requested by ID. So this will specify who the song was requested by and display that information as well. Now we finish with the queue string. We'll want to also grab the current song from queue.current, and now we can actually reply with our embed. So edit reply, embeds, new message embed, and in this message embed we can set the description. We are currently playing, and I forgot up here we want to add in 2 more stars here, so it just bolds only the number. But anyways, back to here, currently playing. We will do the current song. Give me 1 second. Made an error here. This should be current song. If there is a current song that's being played, then we want to specify the duration. So give me 1 second here. Current song dot duration, and we'll specify the current song dot title and the current song dot requested by ID. So it's the same exact format as before. And otherwise, if there isn't a current song that's being played, we'll default this entire thing to none. And finally, after this, we can add our next string, which is going to be just our queue itself. So we'll add a couple new lines just to space it out. We'll specify it's our queue. And we can put this in bold by adding the stars next to it. And we can add our queue string. At this point though, our queue string is still an array of each of these songs, so we want to turn that into a single string. We can do that with .join /n, and I will actually move that up here. So that should be finished. And finally, we can add a little bit more information, like what page number we're on. So I will specify that we are page +1. Remember, we subtracted 1 before to take into account the offset of what the pages start at for JavaScript versus what the user requested. So we have to add 1 back out of the total pages. And just for making things a little pretty, we can add a thumbnail, and we can make it the current song.thumbnail. And we have finished the queue command. We can now move on to our third command, which will be quit, which will be clearing the queue and allowing the bot to leave the voice channel. So quit.js, let's go back, and we can actually copy some of this beginner thing. We can delete the third import because we're not going to be using that. And let's go ahead and create our / command. So let's specify its name. It'll be quit. The description will be stops the bot and clears the queue. And finally, for our run, async client interaction. And in here, again, grab the queue object. And if there isn't a queue, Then we'll want to say there's no songs in here. I'm lazy to write that out, so I'm going to copy that from before. And now we can just run queue.destroy, which is going to destroy the queue, which simultaneously, once the queue is destroyed, by default, the bot will also exit the voice channel. And we can just say interaction.editReply and tell it bye. And that is sufficient. We're done with our quick command. Now let's create our shuffle command. Go to here, we'll create shuffle.js. It's actually very similar to our quit command, and actually we don't need the second import. So we'll go ahead and copy, paste this in, and we'll change up the things that we need. So here, this will be shuffle, and this description will be changed to shuffles the queue. This will stay the same, and instead of queue.destroy, all we need to do is switch this to shuffle, and then in the edit reply we can say the queue of, and we can specify the total amount of the total amount of tracks in the queue by queue.tracks.length songs have been shuffled. And we finished the shuffle command. Now we can move on to the info command, which is going to display the information about the current progress of the song we're currently listening to. So info.js, again I'm going to paste what we had before. We'll switch this to info, and here we will specify that this is displays info about the currently playing song. These are all going to stay the same, except here, instead of queue.destroy, we will be creating a progress bar. So to do that, we can just call queue.create progress bar. And we want to get it for the singular song, not the entire queue of songs. So we'll specify queue is false, and we'll specify the length of the progress bar, so the number of characters in this string to be 19. And instead of just a normal message, we'll actually make this back into an embed just to make it look pretty. That should be embeds. And we'll also need to import message embed from discord.js format, new message embed. Let's set the thumbnail to be the song.thumbnail. And I forgot to specify up here, we want to set the song to be the currently playing song. So queue.current. We'll set the thumbnail to be song.thumbnail, and we'll set the description to be currently playing song.title, song.url. Add a couple new lines here, and we'll add the progress bar here, which is going to be in a string form. Now let's create the pause and resume commands. So go to /pause.js. We'll make that one first. I'm going to go and copy the quit command again because it's very similar. Switch this to say pause. Say pauses the music. And in here again, we'll grab the queue, and instead of queue.destroy, we'll do set paused to be true. And in here, the edit reply, we'll say music has been paused. Use /resume to resume the music. And then we can create our resume.js, which is going to be literally the exact same thing with two small changes. Instead of pause, we'll say resume. We'll say resumes the music. This will say pause, and instead of set pause to be true, we're going to set pause to be false. So resume. Now we'll add the skip command, which is going to skip the current song and move on to the next. So skip.js, we can do the same thing, copy the quit command, paste it in, change this to skip, skips the current song, and here, same thing, but instead of destroy, we will of course skip. But before we actually do that, we can specify what song we skip. So I'm going to grab the current song, q.current, and in here I'm going to specify embeds, or we'll be creating a new message embed, and we'll specify set description. We'll say the current song has been skipped, and we can set the thumbnail to be the current song dot thumbnail, not set thumbnail, just thumbnail. There we go. Now for our very last command, we will write a skip2 command. The difference between the skip and skip2 is that skip skips only the currently playing song, whereas skip2 you can specify what track the bot will skip to, and it'll skip through everything before that and start playing at the song that you specified. So let's go ahead and create the skip2.js, and we'll paste this in, change this to skip2, and the description will say that it skips to a certain track number, and we'll also need to take in this time a number, so add number option, and we'll say option.setName to be track number, and set the description to be the track to skip to. Set the minimum value to be 1, because again, the smallest track that we're going to have in here is going to be 1, and of course we're going to make this required. And in here, instead of q.destroy, we'll be skipping to the track number, which we need to actually grab, -1, and to get that, we will just do const track num equals interaction dot options dot get number track number, and of course we also want to check to make sure that this track number is actually valid, so we'll make sure that it is not greater than the total number of tracks that we actually have. So if it is, we'll return with an error. We'll say invalid track number, and instead of saying by, of course we'll say skipped ahead to track number and whatever number that they did give, track number, and we are done. We finished all of the commands now, and we can go ahead and test things out. To test out the bot, let's open up the terminal. The first thing we'll want to do is actually deploy our / commands with the load option that we specified here. So we'll run node index.js load, which is going to load all of our / commands in, and then we'll do node index.js, which is actually going to load our bot normally, and you'll see we have logged in successfully. Now for the real test, let's actually see how good it is at playing music. So let's go to Discord. I'm going to join a voice channel, and we can go ahead and try. You'll see here, if we click on this, all of our / commands have been added to the listed information. First, we can try just running a random command. You'll see that it gives an error because there's no songs in the queue. So let's go ahead and add a song. So let's search and you'll see that it has added a song to the queue, and if we take a look at the queue, then we'll see that it has been added here. Now if we go to info, you'll see that it's almost done playing, so it includes some of the information here. And now that the queue is empty and the bot is finished playing, it, as you saw, it automatically left. So play, playlist, URL. And finally, we've had all of the 332 songs added. So if we go ahead and play run queue, you'll see we have added all of these, and we have a total of 34 pages. We can run say page 50, which does not exist. It'll give us invalid page. If we run let's say page 30, this can give us page 30 of 34, and it's going to number it correctly and also display the currently playing. And let's go ahead and look at the queue again, and we can run the skip command to see if we run the skip command, it should skip to the Dark Side song. So let's run /skip, give it a second to load in the next song, and if we run queue, you'll see we are at the Dark Side. Now let's go ahead and skip to, let's say, Unity, so we can skip to track number 5. So skip to, and we'll specify track 5, and it should skip to Unity. So now if we run queue, we can see that it is now playing Unity. And there we go, we finished the Discord music bot. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please hit that like button down below. These videos take a lot of effort to create. And of course, if you want more content like this, please leave suggestions in the comment section below and hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.